You are sitting at your kitchen table. You are staring at a printout of your retirement account balance. The math simply isn't matching. You are 60 years old. You do not have $1 million sitting in the bank. In fact, life got expensive. Between the mortgage, your kids' college expenses, and everyday inflation, your savings are closer to zero than they are to safety. The clock is not ticking anymore. It is ringing. Today, we are not talking about early retirement. We are not talking about fantasy beach houses. We are talking about the exact, non-negotiable playbook to salvage your retirement. This is for when you have a short runway and zero room for error. This is much bigger than just moving numbers around on a spreadsheet. This is about your independence over the next 30 years. My name is Frank. If nobody in your life is having this conversation with you about the decade that decides everything, that is exactly what this channel is for. Subscribe. Today, I am going to reveal the exact 5-year emergency framework. This plan can turn a near-empty retirement account into a sustainable survival plan. Let me introduce you to Arthur. He is 59 years old, works as a history teacher, and his retirement account is sitting at a terrifyingly low $12,000. Life got in the way of saving. His house needed a new roof. His kids needed help with tuition. He feels like he ran out of time. But Arthur has exactly 60 months before he wants to step out of the classroom at age 65. Let's look at the math he used to turn this around. The first step in Arthur's emergency framework is expense triage and the baseline survival audit. Most people his age try to guess what they will spend in retirement. They use vague estimates. Arthur cannot afford to guess. He must track his actual, non-discretionary expenses. These are the absolute baseline costs like food, utilities, property taxes, and basic health care. He must track them down to the penny. He needs to know his absolute minimum baseline survival number. You think the problem is that you need to maintain your current lifestyle when you retire. The actual problem is that your current lifestyle includes expenses that you must aggressively strip away to protect your future. Arthur audits his last 12 months of bank statements. He eliminates the noise of peer comparison. He does not look at what his colleagues are spending on vacations. He finds that his true baseline survival number is $3,200 per month. Knowing this number changes everything. It gives him a concrete target. He no longer fights an invisible enemy. Step number 2 in this framework is maximizing the 2026 catch-up contributions. These are the extra savings allowances the IRS specifically builds into retirement accounts once you turn 50. Most financial advice tells you to save 15% of your income starting in your 20s. That advice is useless to Arthur. Under current 2026 tax law, the standard contribution limit for a workplace 401k retirement plan is $23,500. But Arthur is in the 60 to 63 age bracket. Because of his age, he qualifies for the enhanced 2026 catch-up limit. This law allows him to contribute an extra $11,250 on top of the standard amount. That means Arthur can shield a total of $34,750 of his teacher's salary from taxes this year. You think the problem is that you missed the 30-year compounding window and cannot catch up. The actual problem is that you are not utilizing the massive tax advantages the IRS grants exclusively to your age group right now. Arthur adjusts his payroll contributions immediately. He puts $34,750 into his tax-deferred account. This is an account where you don't pay taxes on the money until you pull it out later. Doing this lowers his current taxable income. He saves money on his tax bill today. And he builds a massive cash cushion for tomorrow. He does this every year for the next 5 years. Step number 3 is protecting mobility as a financial asset. Look at it this way. When your nest egg is small, your physical health is your absolute primary defense against bankruptcy. A single major medical emergency can completely wipe out a late-stage retirement plan. Arthur stops looking at health as a lifestyle choice. He treats it as a strict wealth preservation strategy. You think you need to find a way to aggressively double your money in risky investments to catch up. The actual problem is that protecting your health and eliminating high-interest debt provides a guaranteed, tax-free return that outpaces any high-risk stock market gamble you might be tempted to take at age 60. Arthur immediately schedules his long-delayed preventive care routines. He cuts out the physical risks and builds baseline stamina. Every medical issue he prevents keeps thousands of dollars out of the hospital bill cycle and inside his pocket. If nobody in your life is having this conversation with you about the decade that decides everything, that is exactly what this channel is for. Subscribe. Step number 4 is downsizing and radical geographic arbitrage. This simply means moving from a high-cost area to a lower-cost region to maximize the value of your dollars. The old advice says retirees should buy a beach house to host their friends and family. That is a financial trap for someone who is behind. Arthur looks at the real numbers. His current high-tax suburban home costs him $1,100 a month just in property taxes and maintenance. He maps out a move to a nearby active adult community where those exact same fixed overhead costs drop to $400. Arthur sells his house and relocates. This drops his fixed overhead by 45% across the board. This single move instantly extends the life of his modest cash reserves. He does not need $1 million if his housing costs are virtually eliminated. Geographic arbitrage allows him to buy safety. It turns his remaining home equity into a usable liquid asset. The final step, step number 5, is the second act income bridge. This is the transition period where you work a low-stress, part-time job to avoid touching your retirement savings. Arthur plans to retire from full-time teaching at 65. But he will not stop working entirely. He sets up a plan to transition into a part-time history consultancy role from age 65 to age 70. He aims to earn just $2,000 a month. This part-time income covers his baseline survival expenses. Because his expenses are covered, he does not have to use a drawdown strategy. A drawdown strategy is just the method you use to take money out of your accounts. He can leave his newly built 401k nest egg completely alone. This gives his investments an extra 5 years of completely uninterrupted compounding. By the time he reaches age 70, his account has grown significantly larger. Also, his Social Security benefit has maxed out. If you are 60 years old with nothing saved, panic is a luxury you cannot afford. What you need is execution. Do these 3 things this week. First, download your last 3 months of bank statements. Calculate your absolute baseline survival number. Second, log into your workplace retirement portal. Verify if your account is set up to accept 2026 catch-up contributions. Third, schedule a physical exam. Your health is the engine that powers this entire recovery plan. The math at 60 is different from the math at 20. But the math at 60 still works. You just have to be willing to look at it.